In this video, I want to show you how to build your own RC aircraft runway. We purchased some land about 3 years ago that was being used for soybeans at the time, and what we did is we converted that soybean field into what you see here, which is a fully functioning RC aircraft runway. So I want to walk through that whole process and what were some of the considerations we had to think about when building that field. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through it year by year, starting with year 0, what the field looked like then, and then finally ending up in what I'm calling year 2, which is really the 3rd summer here, which is when this video is being recorded. So let's walk through what we did each year. Year 0, when we moved here, was a soybean field. After the soybeans were harvested, I picked out the area and measured off a 200-foot by 80-foot area for the RC area. Now, we hired a company to come in and plant a native prairie mix for the rest of it, so I had to have that RC area marked off before the prairie company came in the following spring to plant the prairie mix. So that was year 0. So getting back to the timeline, in year 0, we marked the area. Year 1, in the spring, the prairie company came in and seeded the rest of the field with a native prairie mix. I planted this 200 by 80 foot aircraft area with just a regular lawn mix of grass. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of rain that year, so the grass took a while to grow. And so I reseeded it again and reseeded it again, trying to time my reseedings with the rain forecast. And it worked okay. Obviously, you can see we do have some grass here, but it just wasn't coming in real quick, and I knew it was going to take a while. So that was basically year 1. Year 2, which is this year, the grass came back in the spring. I reseeded it again, and it was still very, very clumpy. My original goal with this field was to just have it a grass runway, because that would be the lowest maintenance. I knew I'd have to do some leveling and mowing and stuff, but I wanted it to be grass. It was clear to me, though, that the way this grass was growing in, it was so clumpy, it just wasn't going to work. I finally ended up deciding to go with geotextile, woven geotextile material. There are a lot of different options out there. The one I decided on is the US 230 Aero Modeling geotextile. So I ordered that, and I thought at first, maybe I'll just put it right over the grass, even though the grass is very clumpy, and then I thought, no, I want to do it right, I want to get it level. The first thing I did was I took a furrow blade and I went back and forth, crisscross, sideways, diagonal, every which way, just to break up the dirt. So that left me with something that was not at all usable as a runway. It was kind of like tilled dirt, but it was tilled dirt with all of the grass clumps still in it. So I thought, well, now what am I going to do? One of my thoughts was that I would have to rent a tiller and till it up to break up those grass clumps, but that didn't end up being necessary. After I took the furrow blade to the land, I took my box blade with all the tines down. So the tines on the box blade go down about 8 inches or so. And I went over that patch again, and that leveled it out a little bit, but it really broke up the dirt a lot more and just made it a little more malleable, I guess, or easier to work with. The next step was to go over the land on foot and manually find those big clumps of grass and throw them out, because I didn't want those in my runway. Then I went over the runway with a box blade again, several passes to just kind of smooth it out. And then I did another pass on foot and found even more clumps of grass. And well, here we are down at the field again. We are 5 days away from the arrival of our Geotex fabric for the runway. And I thought I would do a quick comparison walk to show you what the runway looks like now compared to what it did the last time. So the difference is it has been box bladed for many hours. It has been thatched. I went over it manually and dug up all the little pieces like this and got these out of here by hand, although I'm going to do that again more tonight. And then went over it with the drag, which I got from Craigslist for $50. So let's walk over here and take a look at that. This thing I just drug behind Big Johnny, the big tractor, and did a bunch of passes with this. Went back and forth in a linear way, and then I did some zigzags and circles and all kinds of stuff, and noticed that it definitely got better, but the dirt was loose and there were still some low spots. And I didn't really love the low spots. So what I did is I took some extra dirt that I had previously drug away with the box blade, and I found the low spots and I put that extra dirt in the low spots. So here's an example, maybe kind of hard to see with the camera, but this was like right here in front of me was a dip, and you can see there's some looser dirt here that I tried to fill it in with. And you know what, it's not perfect. There's still lots and lots of low spots, but it's pretty flat. And I think this is one of those things where it's never going to be perfect, and as long as I'm looking for low spots, I'm always going to find them. So at some point you just have to say good enough and move on. And I think I'm at that point now. Flaps up. Now the key is you always have to fly underneath the sun. That wasn't even on the runway. The Geotex came on a truck. We basically pulled it straight out of the truck backwards with the tractor, laid it down on pallets so that I could get under it later to actually move it down to the field. When it's laid out at first, it is a little bit wrinkly, but after a couple hours in the sun, it makes it tight as a drumhead, and the final result is really nice. So when you're laying out the Geotex and you're seeing wrinkles, don't worry about that, because those wrinkles will go away just by having it lay out in the sun. We did 6-inch staples all the way around every 18 inches and down the middle every 18 inches. Let the sun stretch it out a bit. And then the final step was to seam the middle of it with a special type of tape that U.S. Fabrics recommends. So after I let the fabric stretch out, I went over and seamed the middle with tape. I've been doing a lot of flying off of it since then. It works great. I love it, but the 200-foot length is a little bit short, so you do have to get pretty precise with the sticks and really kind of hone in on those landings. You can't get sloppy like you can on a lot of bigger runways. So I think this will actually be good because it'll result in a pretty big improvement of my, maybe not my general flying skills, but at least my spot landing skills. So that's generally the soup to nuts walkthrough of how to build a Geotex runway. The budget and schedule were both a little bit higher than I originally anticipated, just like any project is going to be. But in the end, I'm really glad I have it, and I think it's going to be a good runway to last many, many years to come.